Hi, I'm Tracey L. This is Reentry Point of View. I'm here with Councilman Kenyatta Johnson. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, Tracey.
Man, I appreciate that. I tried to get Councilman last year. He was real busy, I understand that. But as a man of his word, here he is. This show right here, I have a very large following, and thank God, it's still growing. We're doing YouTube as well. We're going to go on Comcast. So we're going to do this thing real big, man, and I appreciate you sitting here because actually it validates this program even more so. As you know what I do in the community, come back home, help the community out, but you're one of the council people that I can count on one hand and with fingers left over, right, that actually literally helps me develop my program and sponsor me whenever you can, and I appreciate that. So I wanted my audience to be able to meet you. They hear about you, they see us in pictures, those that don't know you, right? In your section in Grace Ferry, there's 3,200 registered ex-offenders. In South Philly and Southwest, over by King Sesson, there's 2,200 registered ex-offenders. And every last one of them, I can literally say, because I deal with them through medias, whatever, so forth, have mad love for you. Why? Because they know that you fight for us and you bring stuff to the table. How you feel about that?
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank you for having me on your show, and it's easy for me to be supportive of you because you wear your heart on your sleeve and you're passionate about helping those who deserve a second chance. And so I commend you for your work, and I respect the work that you have been doing to help returning citizens. For me, it's a no-brainer doing this type of work. I come from the streets of South Philadelphia. Through the grace of God, had an opportunity to have a second chance to get my life together, to be on the right track. And so it's my responsibility to find ways to help those who may have made mistakes in the past get on the right track, follow their goals, their dreams, and their aspirations. And that's what it's all about at the end of the day. I'm not elected for no other reason than to help other people.
Cool. Now, about that second chance, explain to my audience about what you mean about your second chance.
Yeah. Well, obviously, growing up in the streets of South Philadelphia, wasn't always on the right path, and there was people inside the community who are similar to doing work such as yourself, who saw things in me that I didn't necessarily see in myself as a young man, who encouraged me to go away to college, encouraged me to go away to grad school, encouraged me to come back to my community and get involved. And so I know for a fact, if it wasn't for the prayers of my grandmother, but most importantly, community leaders such like yourself, who took me under their wings, then I wouldn't be standing here as an elected official, as a former state representative. And so I wear that on my sleeve because at the end of the day, I know for a fact that if it wasn't for people investing in me, I wouldn't be here today.
I remember a few years ago, youth had got murdered in South Philly, and it touched you. And we were just getting to know one another, and you reached out to me, and you called for me to come to this march that I was going to have, right on Grays Avenue. And what touched me was when you pulled up, you didn't know I was standing there. And you got out the car and you said to one of your aides, you said, "Where's Tracey L. Fisher at?" I heard you. And they looked, they said, "Oh, there you go right there." And you said, "Come on." And you took your coat off. And it was cold out, but it wasn't cold. And you took your coat off and you grabbed the bullhorn, right? And you led the march and had me by your side. And at that moment, you was teaching me how to do a march and lead the people. I was like, wow. And like 6 months later, King Sesson, 49th and King Sesson had a march over in South Philly. We was all going to meet at the bridge. And I was going to join the march, but the person that was supposed to lead the march didn't show up. So they was looking for somebody to lead the march. And look how God worked.
Yes,
I said, well, it's because you had taught me how to lead the march.
Yes.
And I did it. And we met at the middle of the bridge and squashed everything, and it was a beautiful thing. And we were screaming unity in the community, peace, not guns.
That's correct.
How you feel about your peace, not guns?
Well, it's an organization that I'm very passionate about. I grew up in an era where I lost close friends, and that was an organization that allowed me to take all the anger, take all of the frustration, and invest in something positive when it comes to our young people. Teaching them about conflict resolution, teaching them about anger management, and most importantly, teaching them about anti-street education. Because a lot of young people are caught up in the mentality of self-hate, where we're killing one another over things that are trivial. And so it's a program that I would be doing whether I was elected or not, because at the end of the day, I'm an ultimate believer that in our communities, that's what we need, peace and not guns.
And as far as you being in your council medical district, right? What are the areas you are in control of?
Well, I represent more than 15 different neighborhoods. I go from Center City to South Philadelphia to Southwest Philadelphia. So I represent the Flyers, the Sixers, the Phillies, the Eagles, Philadelphia Soul, the Philadelphia International Airport, as well as the Navy Yard. But also within that, we have more than 15 different neighborhoods. As I mentioned, you got Pascal, Eastwick, Point Breeze, Grays Ferry, Southwest Center City, Rittenhouse Square, Hawthorne, and so Packard Park, Girard Estate. So I live in I represent a very diverse district, and I pride myself on making sure I'm representing all the people in the various neighborhoods equally.
Now, what you saying that? What's one of the hardest things that makes your job even harder, like when you have to represent that diverse community?
Well, you know, each neighborhood has their own sets of issues and concerns, and it takes a strong leader to balance those issues and concerns and making sure that you're representing all your constituents equally. And so from one neighborhood, the issue may be youth gun violence, the next neighborhood may be gentrification, another neighborhood may be clean streets, and so it's very, very diverse. But I pride myself on making sure that I'm the councilman for all the people that I represent.
Well, I'm a firm believer in heavy is the head that wears the crown, because once you sit in that seat, everyone is all eyes on you, and it is what it is, right? And now everyone come at you, and if their agenda is not being heard, then it's like, as far as they're concerned, you're ignoring them.
Yes, that's correct.
That's not the case. What would you like to say to those individuals that need to be heard by you, but yet you haven't gotten to them yet?
Well, I represent 165,000 constituents that reside within the 2nd Councilmanic District, and so we work very hard to make sure that we're getting our message out, we're getting our services out to all parts of my district, and if we haven't been in a particular neighborhood, we will be there soon.
Right, and the thing about it is this: a couple of days ago, which was sad. I know you personally, so I know it touched your heart about the young men outside of Pepper getting murdered and so forth. What's your thought on that as the councilman and as a member of the community?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, anywhere a young person is murdered, it touches my heart. You know, I spend a significant amount of my time going to funerals, speaking at funerals on behalf of family members of young people, particularly African American young men who have been murdered. And so similar to this case, you know, when I heard about it, my heart was sad because we have another life lost over some senseless acts of gun violence. And so again, it just also reinvigorate my passion to try to find ways to address the issue of youth gun violence. Is there one particular reason why the incident took place? I don't know. We're working very closely with members of the law enforcement community to get to the bottom of it. But at the end of the day, we got to find ways for our young men to make positive choices as opposed to picking up guns.
So is it safe to say that your office as well as yourself is working on some type of solution for that situation so it won't occur again?
Yes. Well, we will be out in the community this Friday coming up, doing some door-to-door, reaching out to the neighbors in the community, but overall making sure that there's a comprehensive vision and plan for that particular area when it comes to young people.
Because I heard the cry of that community, because I'm from that community.
Yes.
I went to school in that community, and the cry is that there's nothing positive in that community for these youth to actually partake in. And that's why the devil's is a workshop. Idle Mind is a workshop.
Idle Mind is the devil's workshop.
So that's what the community is really trying to address.
Yes.
You know, so we have to sit down and get together and say, okay, this is what we're going to do as a community as a whole, not just a few individuals.
That's correct.
You know, so I understand both sides. You know, they want something now, but you saying, listen, in order for me to give you this is what we have to do so it can work.
It has to be a collective community vision, but also making sure that, you know, the elected officials that represent the area, that we're doing all things possible that's within our power to make sure that their issues and concerns will be addressed. And so we have a level of responsibility on it, but also as a community, we all have to play a role in making sure that when we hear about these arguments, these confrontations, that as a community, we're also playing a role in addressing it before it escalates. Right. Because even if you're playing a basketball game, right, and that's something that you can get involved in that's positive, if there's a confrontation, right, that's escalating, you still need people to intervene before that escalate, before the confrontation escalate into a gunfight on an actual basketball court or that activity that we provide for people to get involved in. So it's a very complex issue, but I'm up for the challenge of trying to find a way to make sure that we eliminate any forms of gun violence.
And there's always two sides to a story.
Yes.
And you know, the first side is, unfortunately, is the person, family, and the person that got murdered. And what about the side of the family that's affected, the domino effect of the person that did the murder?
Yeah, well, you have two victims. You have the person that was murdered, but you also have the person who pulled the trigger, because ultimately that person is going to go to jail. So then you have his family impacted. And so I'm always talking about, when I'm in the community, it's parents' responsibility, parents' friends' responsibility to find ways to intervene before these incidents escalate. It's always sad when I'm at a funeral and you find out that the family members of the victims, the perpetrator who pulled the trigger and the person that's murdered, they know each other, right? And so we have to do a better responsibility of stepping up to the plate and really intervening before these acts of gun violence escalate. And that's tough, but at the end of the day, I always tell people, no one's going to save us but us. And so ultimately, when the community gets sick and tired of being sick and tired of burying young men, and that's the only way it's going to stop. Can we provide resources to help it? Yes, we can. We can. Can elected officials put policy on the books that can help the process? Yes, we can. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's the people that will stand up and say, you know what? We're sick and tired of this. This is not going to happen. And how I know? Because I grew up in that environment. I remember the days when the older guys would say, we're not going to allow you to come on our block with this type of nonsense, with senior citizens sitting on the steps, children sitting playing in the streets. So if anything was going to happen, you're not doing it on this block, right? Got to get back to the days where people stepped up and took ownership of their neighborhood. That's not taking responsibility away from us as elected officials. Yeah, we have a job to do and we should be held accountable to do it. But I also encourage people that, yes, the so-called old heads, right? They got to step up, because a lot of times you find a lot of the so-called old heads be giving the young guys the guns, and the old heads these days are in their 20s.
Wow.
Right? As opposed to telling them it's not even worth it to go shoot somebody over. So that's really my approach. That's where my head is at in trying to address the issue.
And addressing that issue with the young men not being mentored in the right way. You yourself is raising two young men right now,
Yes,
right?
yes.
I remember I called your office and I said I need appointment because I follow proper channels.
Yes.
You know, I'm not calling. I call you direct for just we friends. I call you business. I call your office and make an appointment.
Yes.
I said I need to speak with the councilman. I need to talk to him. He's out on maternity leave.
Yes.
I said he ain't had no baby. They
Yes.
said, well,
Yes.
it's on the books.
Yes.
He out for a month.
Yes.
Yo, what's
Yes.
going on? You know,
Yes.
so I laughed so hard, it was just funny.
Yes.
I said to my wife, I know you 51, but you can't have a baby. I need some time off, right? But it's all good, though. So how does it feel to be a new
Well,
father?
one, I'm technically never off, right? But I took time off as opposed to doing meetings as I normally would do to spend time with my son. I have a 3-month-old son. I'm also a 2-year-old. And so, you know, while I'm dealing with the issues of youth gun violence, it's been something I've been passionate about for about the last 23 years. But even bringing 2 young men into this world, it even crystallizes how urgent this issue is and how important it is for us to try to find ways to address it. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going anywhere. You know, I'm going to be inside the city. I still live in the neighborhood that I grew up in. That's where I'm raising my family at. And I ultimately want my boys to be safe growing up in the streets of Philadelphia.
Wow. So let me ask you this. A person come home and they don't know what to do. And they come to your office and they say, Councilman, I'm in your district, I'm a returning citizen, help me.
Yes.
What you do?
We refer them to Gateway to Reentry.
Smart man.
You know, listen.
That's a smart man.
One of the number one issues that we deal with is assisting individuals who come home and trying to help them get back on their feet. You know, before they get a job, it was a gentleman by the name of Wallace Custis who said, before we get them a job, we got to make sure they got the basics. Birth certificate, social security card, a license, right? Before you even get to the job part, making sure that you're prepared to get a job, so when I make a referral phone call, I'm not getting a phone call back saying they got a hot yarn, they didn't show up, it wasn't dressed professionally. And so we try to provide those type of resources to individuals who are coming home to help them get on their feet, as well as trying to find ways to help them get acclimated to society again. And so rather than dealing with your program, Gateway to Reentry, the mayor's RISE program, but also working with employers that I have contacts with throughout my district for people who may come home and say, listen, I'm ready to get back into the work scene. I have everything that you said that I need. How can you be helpful for me? So I do pride myself in having a track record and also helping returning citizens get gainful employment as well.
I remember coming to your office one time, and one of the biggest compliments you ever paid me was you was on your way out. I was there to see your chief of staff about something, and you happened to be coming through the office, and you looked at me and smiled and said, you know, man, since you've been home, no one else can come to my office and complain about anything.
That's right.
And that really, like, that was that gasoline I needed in my tank. You understand? Because I get to them fumes sometime as well, you know, and it meant a lot to me that you recognize that.
Yeah.
So what I do for even though you're not running for office or anything, but we give everybody a 30-second commercial, whatever, to say who you are, what you projecting out there, and any information like contact information you want the public to have that can reach out to you. So the camera's yours.
My name is Councilman Kenyatta Johnson. I represent the 2nd Councilmanic District here supporting Tracey L. Fisher, Gateway to Reentry. You can get in contact with me at Councilman KJ on Instagram, Kenyatta Johnson on Facebook, and Councilman KJ on Twitter.
With that being said, I want to thank you for coming. This is Tracey L. Fisher, the Entry Point of View with Councilman Kenyatta Johnson.
Thank you. I'll keep up the good work.